So Charlie, what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes that sellers make in the current market?
I think you could almost apply this to any market because they tend to be fairly consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I think by far, and there's sellers out there, and I'm sure there a few of them are going to just shake their head when I say this one, but overpricing, because they hear it all the time. And I think there are a subset of buyers who hear that. I'm sorry. I think that there's a subset of sellers that hear that and think that's like a strategy, or the agent wants to make their life easier and list the house, at a lower price.
So what happens when you overprice?
Essentially, what happens is so put yourself in the buyer's shoes as a seller for a second. You're out there, you're looking for homes. You don't really know what is overpriced and underpriced. What you do know is value. What looks good for your price bracket relative to the other stuff
that you've been seeing.
And you and every other buyer out there gravitates to the chunk of the market that looks better. At any given time, that could be anywhere from 10 to 50 to 75% of the market, depending on how many buyers are out there. That subset of the market that looks really attractive. And essentially the overwhelming majority of buyers go towards those few properties. So when you're overpricing, all you're doing is just being missed. You're basically helping sell the other properties. It's like it's a typical. You walk into you go to anything. You go to an apartment store to buy a pair of shoes, and there's 3 pairs of shoes there. We know from marketing research that you're probably going to buy the one in the middle.
Yes.
And that's a similar thing that's happening with the buyers. You're the expensive one. They're just not.
They're making the ones in the middle, quote unquote, more attractive.
And when I say expensive, I mean from a value perspective.
Of course.
Like expensive is, sure, you could be 3 million, 5 million, 10 million, whatever. That's really irrelevant.
We're saying you justify that price.
And it's benchmarked to the other houses that are in the same bracket. They're just looking at yours and going, it doesn't look attractive to me, but this one does.
So how does that make you less money in the end as a seller?
Actually, I think that's a good question. I think it's probably something that I just assumed and didn't say. So thank you for clarifying that. The way that it ends up working is you essentially miss the initial marketing push that is impossible to duplicate. That new listing push. So there's a subset of buyers that are out there ready, willing, and able to go, especially in today's market with such low inventory. Our buyers are always, we're always preparing them to be fully ready. So when that house hits the market, they can go. I'm sure there's plenty of other agents doing the same thing. So they're sitting there and wait. Your new listing comes in an intense market like this. It was always this way, just so you know, but this is just amplified at this point. The buyers waiting on that new listing comes out, they run to that new listing, they go see it, they either bid on it, they don't get it, or they decide not to move forward, right? And then they go back the next week and they do the same thing. They passed your listing up. They might have looked at it one more time and they passed it up again. After that point, it doesn't exist to them.
Wow.
They've forgotten about it.
And they're just looking at what's coming on now. Always what's new.
Right. And now you're essentially, for one, your showings are becoming less and less every week. So the first time when you first hit the market, if anybody's ever sold a house, they know the burst of showings happens right in the beginning. And then if you stay on the market for a while, it's slower and slower and slower. And you're not able to really use the buyer energy in those scenarios to sell the home. You're hoping that you're finding someone that appreciates the house for what it's worth and it's checking a lot of boxes for them. And so that they see the value there, but you're still negotiating. If you have multiple buyers that want the house, you are negotiating, don't get me wrong, but you're using the force or the energy of the other buyers to the excitement around the property to help you increase the cost of or the value of the home, or the price that you're going to get for the home. And so when you're high, you miss that initial surge. You miss it altogether.
Because you're almost disqualified off the bat in certain.
You're disqualified off the bat, and then now 3 weeks later, you say, all right, let's drop the price. As a seller, you're saying, let's drop the price. We clearly see, we're overpriced. We understand, but you're late. You missed it. It's not that it doesn't work. Don't get me wrong. That is a strong marketing tactic, but now you're chasing the market in the other direction.